Welcome back to Heaven My Cake. I'm Eleonora Ross, and I like to help bakers know their worth by sharing my experiences and all of my cake tips that I've learned along the way. So I've been cake decorating since 2013, living in another country is when I started learning this. And so I've been through a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and this is just my way of kind of just being vulnerable, sharing my experiences, sharing the things that I've been through. Good, the bad, the ugly, like whatever. Just my personal experiences to help you along your journey so that way you don't make the same mistakes I did. The one thing about it is that making mistakes is all a part of the process. So don't beat yourself up about it. Just keep going, figure out a way to do what works best for you, most importantly. So before I get any further into this, I do want you to subscribe to this channel. That lets me know that you're feeling what I'm saying, you like the channel, and it encourages me to continue to make more of these videos. If you haven't checked out some of my old videos, I have some tutorials and things like that on here that you can check out. A lot of like basic stuff. I'm working on making some more videos here. More videos like this and more tutorials of me kind of showing how to make certain things. So I think it'll be really fun. So today I'm going to be talking about the 7 mistakes that I've made as a home baker. Now I've made a lot of mistakes. What I've seen is that a lot of other bakers have gone through the same things that I've gone through, have felt the same things that I have felt when it comes to cake decorating. The more that I share, the more that I find out about other people. It has inspired me to keep sharing and not be embarrassed about certain things or just just scared to speak my truth and how I feel about cake decorating and baking and that whole industry. I do like it, don't get me wrong, I do like it, I do enjoy it, but I like doing it my way and the way that I like to do it. Which means that I don't focus on selling anymore. I just focus on providing, tutorials and content and kind of talking about it to help other people. First mistake that I'm going to talk about is blind faith. Now, how many bakers out there have taken a cake order and just allowed the customer or friend or family member to kind of pay them after the fact, right? You're like, oh no, it's okay, I'll get the money afterwards. You have that blind faith in them that they're gonna pay you. And you really don't know, right? In the back of your head, you're like, oh, they're gonna pay me, you trust them. But in the back of your head, you're never thinking they would never not pay. But there's a lot of cases where people don't pay and it's a messed up situation. You went out of your way, you prepared, you made the cake, you spent money, and you're delivering them a product that they're not even gonna pay you for, or they feel like they shouldn't have to pay you for, they feel like they can just take advantage of you. And I actually had a situation where I allowed someone to, she was giving me the runaround about paying, right? And I wanted to make the cake because, we had a mutual friend, and so I wanted to kind of work with her. When it came time for her to pay for the cake, right? I had made it. It was a 2-tier cake. I made it, gave it to her, and she's just like, oh, can I give you the money like tomorrow or the next day or whatever the situation was? I don't remember, but she didn't give me the money that right there. And I was like, it's okay, it's fine. I allowed it, right? I allowed her to pay me after, and I already had undercharged her for the cake anyways, right? I only charged her $90 for this 2-tier cake. Afterwards, I just felt, when I gave her the cake and I didn't get the rest, like my money, I don't even remember if she paid a deposit or if she did or not, but I just remember feeling like, why did I allow this to happen? I felt like taken advantage of, and not because, she took advantage of me, but because I allowed it to happen, and you don't want to get in that position, right? I've even talked to other bakers where they're still from months ago trying to get money from someone that said that that would pay them. So I don't recommend having blind faith when it comes to people or when it comes to this. There's a lot of work that goes into it, from preparing the cake to making the cake to designing the cake, you know, getting the ingredients. Just each cake is like its own project. Each order is its own project. You're taking the time to figure out every aspect of that cake. You know, when somebody sends you a design of a cake, you know, it's literally a custom, everything is custom made. So you're really figuring out how to make it, how, you know, researching the colors, you know, doing mock colors to see how to mix these colors so that way it goes how it, you know, it looks how it should look. There's a lot, what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of trial and error in each cake. And so, you know, like I said, a lot of time goes into it. So you want to get your money up front, which I'm going to get into. The second mistake that I made as a home baker was pricing too low. Oh my goodness. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why I don't like selling cakes anymore, because of the pricing. All of that goes into pricing a cake to make it fair for myself, for the customer, for the whole business aspect part of it. You know, like I said, a lot goes into it. Some are more detailed, some are less detailed, some are more colorful, some are not as colorful. Some are bigger, some are smaller, you know. So pricing can be very, very, very tricky. And I'm always seeing in baking groups on Facebook, you know, people putting pictures out of cakes and asking the whole group, how much for this cake? How much for this cake? And it's like, everyone is from a different area. Everyone, it has, you know, it's a different cake. And sometimes it's hard to tell, you know, what size the cake is on a picture, right? Because that determines the price too, if the cake is bigger or smaller. And that determines if there's more buttercream on a cake. If a cake is bigger, it needs more buttercream. So all of that goes into effect when it comes to pricing a cake. In the beginning, and for a very, very long time, okay, a long time, I was charging way too low for my cakes, and basically like $45. You know, I have reels on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of that I'm talking about why, you know, a custom cake is not $50. It's more than that. You know, when you add up the ingredients, you add up the materials, I'm not even talking about time and profit, okay? Just adding up the ingredients and the materials alone can climb up to that amount of money. So, and above, depending, like I said, what kind of cake it is. And especially now, since it's, you know, things are a little more expensive now. I don't want to say you shouldn't be asking people how much a cake should be, but the very first step that you should do before you ask somebody about a cake is add up all of your ingredients, right? How much is a cup of flour? How much is a cup of milk? How much is a cup of oil? How much is 2 eggs? How much is 4 eggs? How much is a teaspoon of vanilla, right? You need to know your basic costs of how much it's gonna cost you to make a cake, right? And when you're adding up those ingredients, also your materials, right? Your cake boards, right? You're adding that in there, right? You're adding in literally everything, right? How much is just a basic cake? And then you add in everything else, the topper, the whatever else, the flowers, you know. And when you get to that number, right, and this is what I would do, I would add up all of my stuff and I would get to a certain number and I'd be like, oh, that's too much money, you know. And I would be in other people's pockets, right, saying, oh, they're not gonna pay that, they're not gonna pay that, this is too much money, or maybe, well, this is way too low if I do it, if this is, you know. No, you're not being in other people's pockets. You're not in your own pocket about what you think that you would pay for a cake. It's what it is. It's how much it came out to be, and that's what it is. You're doing your calculations. That's how much it is. Never want to shortchange yourself, and I did that. I would dig into my own pocket to finish a cake order, and that left me feeling like crap. You know, for a lot of time, I felt like crap. And even giving a discount, you know, I kind of felt cool, like, oh yeah, I'll give you a discount, like I'm your girl, you know, or, you know, maybe give some like free cake and like, oh my God, they'll love it, you know, or give it as a gift or whatever. No. It never works out. It never works out. I never feel good at the end of the day. When I fast forward years later, I don't feel good about it. Unless it's something that I genuinely want to do, or if I have leftover cake, I'll give it, you know, to people. Or woo, so that was a lot. So pricing too low. Be confident in your prices. When you're pricing everything up, you're telling, you know, you're adding everything up. That's the price that it is. And don't, you know, knock back a few dollars because you feel like someone's not going to pay for it. Get out of people's pockets. You have the price how it's supposed to be. And if they don't want to pay for the cake, that's fine. Somebody else, you know, keep promoting yourself. Somebody else will pay for it. It's better to charge more money, you know, what you're supposed to charge, and get less orders, and then have your orders be super cheap, and then you have all these orders and you're doing all of this work for nothing. So the third thing is not having a plan. So I would just kind of do whatever. You know, a lot of my cakes were like word of mouth. I didn't really have a plan or structure about what I wanted to do. When it came to selling cakes, you know, I just kind of just did it. So it's good to kind of sit down and think about what you want to do when it comes to selling cakes, and also keep it simple as well. I would try to do too much, have all these big ideas and everything, and it was just super overwhelming. You know, if you want to do small treats, do small treats. You want to do cakes, or even if you want to do both, you know, but just keep it simple. You know, you don't want to have all these things for people to choose from, because you have to have all those things on hand and all of that stuff. So just keep it simple for yourself, and just sit down and really think about the things that you actually like to do and that you like to make. If you don't like to make kids' birthday cakes, don't make kids' birthday cakes. You know, if there's a certain kind of cake that you don't like doing, don't do it. If you want to move towards more of a certain type of cake design, you know, then do that. But at least, you know, you kind of have a plan of what you want to do. And that'll make things a lot easier for you and less stressful, and then you can structure your prices accordingly.